Support for the Leadoff on WGLT and WGLT.org comes from the Central Illinois Regional Airport, where Florida beaches are one flight away. Featuring nonstop service on Allegiant Airlines to Tampa, St. Pete, and Orlando Sanford from Bloomington. Close, convenient, CIRA. More at CIRA.com.
Strict regulations on who can become a licensed locksmith in Illinois will end in a few years. That's one of the things you need to know to start your day for Tuesday, July 2nd. I'm Ryan Denham, and this is WGLT's The Leadoff. Now let's lead off with Governor J.B. Pritzker defending the state's plan to close the women's prison in Lincoln. Here's WGLT's Eric Stock.
The Illinois Department of Corrections plans to tear down the Logan Correctional Center, the more than 150-year-old prison for women, and build a new prison in northern Illinois. It also plans to tear down the Stateville prison near Joliet. Governor Pritzker says the two aging prisons were built simply for punishment, not for inmate rehabilitation.
We're trying to keep people healthy in the facilities, not just the prisoners in them, but also the corrections officers that work there. And I think we can do that best by making the investment to replace them.
The state has been compiling public comment on plans to close Logan. It has nearly 800 pages of responses. Many are opposed to the state's plans. Again, Governor Pritzker.
People are expressing themselves. Some people don't like the fact that we're making these changes. Some people don't recognize the need to make those changes, even though we have a study that shows that we do.
Republican lawmakers and community leaders in Logan County have urged the state to reconsider closing Logan, saying it'll have a significant economic impact on the region. The Illinois Department of Corrections says a large number of inmates at Logan are from the Cook County area, so they would benefit from being closer to family. Pritzker spoke to the Illinois Lawmakers podcast from Capital News, Illinois. For the Leadoff, I'm Eric Stock.
Here's some other stories we're following in the WGLT newsroom. Former Redditus Labs CEO Aaron Rossi pleaded not guilty on charges of alleged COVID-19 testing fraud. He is being sentenced today in a separate case where he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of federal tax and mail fraud. A lawsuit claims the new owner of the Hilltop Mobile Home Park in Bloomington is treating its longtime tenants unfairly. Texas-based Oakwood Properties bought the park last year and is issuing new leases with a host of new rules. And Western Illinois University is letting go of 36 non-tenure track faculty members, so-called Unit B instructors. The administration says it's part of an ongoing commitment to, quote, achieving fiscal stability. You can find more on these stories at WGLT.org. Illinois is one of the strictest states in licensing locksmiths. That will end in a few years. Licensing requirements will sunset in 2029. In this interview with WGLT's Charlie Schlenker, Andy Strenz of Bill's Key and Lock Shop in Bloomington talks about the implications of deregulation. Strenz says the current licensing requirements are substantial.
It should ensure that only professionals enter into the business, and it remains that way. I'm not 100% certain that that's what has happened the entire time. I still hear horror stories of people who Google a locksmith. They call the number that appears, and somebody shows up. They drill the lock off the door, charge them $500, and are never to be seen again. That's not locksmithing. It seems that those groups that set up these phone numbers are very difficult to track down. And I think that people are probably maybe a little bit ashamed of turning them in for such a thing because they feel like maybe they're, it's that victim guilt, if you will. I'm just not sure that a lot of it is getting reported.
The reason for the legislation that lifts the licensing requirements, that causes them to sunset, is that in COVID, it was preventing some people from getting into the business.
Sure.
Is that meritorious, do you think, that concern?
I think so, and it wasn't just during COVID, although I think, like a lot of things, COVID really emphasized some points. We have certainly seen much fewer, if not zero, new entrants, at least in our area, into the locksmith field. It presents a pretty high barrier of entry. And I think that some people look at the testing and the fees and the background check and they just say, I'll just do something else.
So how do people get into it? Do they essentially apprentice with an existing firm and then strike out on their own, or what?
That also is not very easily done because of the way the state has it set up. So if you work for me, let's say, and you have your perk card, you can go to work for any other locksmith with that perk card, but you can't start up your own locksmith business. You still have to go to the state, take your exam, pay your fees, get your license and do all those things. To me, they could make it better by offering some grandfathering in for these folks that have worked as a locksmith under a perk card situation. That might be a better way of keeping these people in the field and starting up new shops.
Since the existing regulation hasn't prevented scammers, and there is merit to having professional education requirements, is the sunset going to throw out the baby with the bathwater and open the door for more scammers?
It certainly could. And I'm not certain that it's really going to help necessarily either. I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of people knocking on our door trying to be locksmiths. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. I mean, if a year or two after, if they do allow it to sunset, if I see lots of shops open up, then I guess we will have really shown that deregulation of industries works. But I'm skeptical.
Is there a marketplace? I mean, how busy are you, and how much scope in the marketplace is there?
Well, we're quite busy, and there's definitely room for competition in this town, especially in the expanding field of automotive locksmithing. Everybody's carrying around a $100 to $200 key in their pocket these days that fits their car, whether it's electronic or mechanical or anything in between. So the need for those keys and basically people's desire for ease of access into their vehicle or their home or business, those things are keeping the industry propped up.
How should the state address scammers and trunk slammers and people who are fly-by-nights?
Well, I mean, there should be some kind of enforcement. And unfortunately, I think the state relies almost solely on people turning them in themselves.
That's Andy Strenz of Bill's Key and Lock Shop. He spoke with WGLT's Charlie Schlenker. And before we let you go, the McLean County Board's Transportation, Land Use and Development, and Justice Committees all meet today. At Justice's 4:30 meeting, they'll discuss an agreement with Chestnut Health Systems for an opioid prevention coordinator. And that's it for today. I'm Ryan Denham. The show is produced by Lou Warner. You can subscribe to The Leadoff on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.